the folks online on live stream will need me to speak into a microphone. So here we go. I forgot about that, even though we have a microphone right in front of us. This is an incredible crowd. Thank you very much. It's an important, in my eyes, it's an important event. It's an important part of our life. We know we all have to do this. And thank you for participating. And hopefully you have at least one takeaway tonight from these ladies. And maybe you can spread the word and help someone else out. Since we are in the church, let us remember we're in the presence of God, and let's begin with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, you give us life so we can give others life, and to love them and to help them on their journey. Give us the courage and wisdom to ask others for love and help on our way home to you. We thank you for the ladies you sent to us tonight, filled with love and compassion to help guide us on our journey. Lord, help us to continue to be good servants or good recipients of a servant's care. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. All right, a meeting of many names. Next steps, planning for your future, senior living, developing approach, planning for your future, a practical discussion on aging. We can call it many things, but it's a plan. And I've had plenty of personal experience with it. I've seen a lot of it as a deacon in my almost 10 years here of visiting the homebound and helping others on their journey. And there are a lot of people who seem to have their plan together. Others think their children should make their plan for them. Others who have no plan. So hopefully we can come away with some ideas. And the biggest idea, the biggest plan so far, in my opinion, is that everyone takes one of these cards home with them because there's a name and a telephone number on it. I have a tendency to forget everything that I've learned recently, but if I know I have a telephone number and a name, that's the place where I'm going. And these ladies, who I'll introduce in just a minute, will be glad to help you, along with their staff. Tonight is the start of a conversation, whether it's with your brother, with your sister, with your mother, with your father, with your children. We need to have these conversations. It's kind of like going to college or going to grade school or driving a car. It's a part of life where we need to have these conversations. We may not like it, but that's what we have to do. And if you already have a plan, maybe it needs to be fine-tuned or updated, or, you know, there's been some federal government changes or some other things that are going on that have changed since you put your plan together. Hopefully we can have a practical discussion on aging. Know that this organization's only goal is to help you on your journey. They have a lot of tools and a lot of brick and mortar to offer us, but we're going to have a simple discussion of how to start the plan, and we're going to have a question and answer period so you can maybe get some of those things that are on your mind off your chest and feel better, or at least have an answer, or again, have a name and a face and a telephone number to talk to. And I'm going to keep saying that. Our goal is to walk away with a name and a telephone number. If that's all we do, it's been a success. These are the ladies here that are going to help us tonight. In the dark hair is Ellie Hansen. She's a staff member. In the front here is Cheryl Trask. She's the manager of the social services group for Cardinal Ritter Senior Services. They've been doing this a long time. I think their staff is growing. They certainly have lots of knowledge. They're professionals. They're licensed. And I'll let them explain all that. Their goal and I love, this was my one takeaway when I talked to them. Their goal is to help you stay in your home. We had one of our parents, Jenny and I, he said, I'm going out feet first from my home in a body bag. I didn't want to say that, but you did. And he did. It was God's plan, because there was no other way that it could have been planned any more perfectly than what had happened. But I would say something, but I'm not. So their goal is to keep you in your home, not to get you into one of their brick and mortar locations. If that's where you think you want to go, great, right? Okay. So without further ado, here we go, Cheryl. It's your turn and Ellie's turn, and then we'll go to a question and answer period. Some of you have sent me some questions, and hopefully we'll answer them along the way. If not, we'll take them when we're finished here with the general presentation.
Thank you for coming out tonight on a rainy night. I was going to wear a dress because I wanted to be formal tonight, but decided it's too rainy and wet and cold, so you'll just have to accept me how I am. But I really applaud you for coming out on a cold, rainy night. So we're going to first talk to you a little bit about Cardinal Ritter, who we are, what we do. We're going to talk to you a little bit about services and some things to think about. And then at the end, as Deacon said, we'll have it open for questions and answers. There were a few people that emailed some questions, and I have answers prepared for those. And then, we'll take questions from the audience too. So we'll try and get this PowerPoint started here. Oh. There we go. Okay. Cardinal Ritter, or Senior Services, is really a continuum of care. We've been around for about 50 years. And our goal is to help keep people in their homes. It often starts with the social service department at Cardinal Ritter. And we start by answering questions on the phone, and then we can sometimes do more depending on what is needed. So, for example, a person may come home from the hospital and need to get some home-delivered meals, and you don't know where to do that. So you call us, and we give you a name and number on how to do that, and that's it. But as aging progresses, there's often different needs. So my staff can help with those needs too. So you start with the question, and then we may get into looking at some more resources that you may need, and we could refer you to. We could possibly do a phone and home visit, or meet at a Starbucks or a Bread Co. We even do that. And then we can maybe help look at alternative housing if that's what you're looking for. But we kind of take you through the process. That's why we call it a continuum of care. Cardinal Ritter also operates different facilities that Ellie will tell you about in a little bit too. So we'll talk about that at the end, but let's go on to the next slide. So who are we? Cardinal Ritter, our social service department, is a team of 4 master's level case managers. We serve the elderly and at-risk population in St. Louis City, County, a little bit in Jefferson and St. Charles too. When we get clients in those areas, we try to refer as quickly as possible to resources in those areas. We have some grants that will help people in the city, some that may help in the county, so it just depends what you're needing and what we can help you with. And like I said, we do home visits, we provide assessments, we do a linkage to resource, and we provide information about any specific needs that you may have. So let's talk about aging. So in today's presentation, we're going to talk to you about where you can find reliable information. Whoops, I think I need to go on to the next slide. There we go. Where you can where you can find reliable information and resources to help you yourself or someone that you care for. We're going to talk to you about when do you know you need a higher level of care. What can you do in advance to help prepare for aging? And what do we do when we find ourselves in the role of caregiver? We put up a couple statistics. We don't want to overwhelm you in statistics, but I just think that this is really interesting. By 2030, there will be 71 million Americans over the age of 65, and 75% of older adults live now with at least 2 chronic conditions, which are important statistics to think about when we're thinking about our population aging. So, preparing for senior care at home. There are many ways to age in place, but staying in your own home is what we try to help you do. Factors to consider about staying in one's home are health, safety, and mobility. Often simple changes in a home can just make a home better for people to live in. For example, adding more lighting, or adding grab bars, or maybe picking up some of those throw rugs that have become trip hazards. But to do some preventative things to kind of think about staying in your home, you also need to think about good nutrition. And that means eating well. Don't skip meals. I know sometimes when I get home from work, I'm thinking I just want a bowl of cereal or maybe some popcorn. But you really need to eat healthy and keep your energy up. Try to eat with others, with family, neighbors. Senior centers have lunch meals for people, and encourage your family to get together for meals. The next step would be to organize your finances and bills. So make sure you pay your bills. And a lot of people now are going to paying their bills online, which is very effective. You don't have to worry each month if the bill gets paid or if you forget. So that may be something that you want to think about. But you also want to be careful of scams, because we get a lot of calls from people that have lost money through someone called and said they should give money. You should only give money to trusted resources like your church. So, be careful of scams, because there are a lot out there for seniors, and a lot of those are calling the seniors at home during the day. Make sure you keep your home clean. Keep things uncluttered. If you can't do it, find someone that can help you, whether it be a friend, a neighbor, or hire it done. It may not be such a wise idea to get up and clean the gutters out of your second-story house as you age, because it's a risk for falls. So if you can't do it, find someone to help you out. And there's a quote that I like to say, that when you get rid of things, it's an act of charity to recycle. So think about that. You need to take care of yourself, too. Again, get regular checkups, follow the treatments that you've been prescribed. Maybe take a fall prevention course, or AARP offers a lot of good classes, and they offer safe driving classes. Make sure you have regular dental and eye checks, because those can often lead, the dentist and the eye doctor can often find other problems through those exams. It's also important to socialize. Stay in the mainstream. Get help when you are ill. Join groups. Spend time with family. And there's lots of clubs out there for seniors to join. And then utilize resources. In the community, that may be private resources or governmental resources. Things like home-delivered meals or transportation. A lot of insurance companies now are providing some transportation to doctor's appointments. The St. Louis Area Agency on Aging has a Lyft program that will send a lift to a person's home to go to the store, go to the doctor. Aging Ahead in the county has programs for caregivers and meals and transportation. So there's lots of resources out there. The next step that I want to talk about is red flags. I think this is a big question that a lot of us want answered. How do we tell when more help is needed? And these are some of the common signs that we see as social workers when more help is needed. One can be bills are not paid or utilities are disconnected. If there's unopened mail at mom's house, those are things you've got to question. If there's appetite changes, there's no food in the house, or there's maybe expired food. If the house and yard are not taken care of, they're unkept, and mom used to have a great flower garden, but now all the flowers are not growing so well. So if it's unkept, if there's a change, those are things to look for. If a person's unable to get to the laundry, which is often in the basement, that would be something to look at. Driving issues and accidents. can also be a problem. When you start noticing dings on the car, or the mirrors are knocked off, or the license is expired, that would be another red flag. A good thing to do is to ride. Have your kids ride with you and ask them, you know, how am I doing? Make sure that medications are taken properly. Are there still pills in the bottles? Are there expired meds? Are there pills on the floor? Those are all some signs that, you know, something may be going on there. Medical problems, such as physical problems, if there's lots of falls, that's what we recognized with my own mother, who's 85, and we moved her from Kansas to St. Louis, and we got her set up in a cute little apartment, and she started falling. So that's when we began questioning what needs to be done here. Emotional, if you're noticing a lot of depression, anxiety, or confusion, those can all be signs. A lot of people their long-term memory will be better than their short-term memory. So if you ask them what you had for dinner yesterday, they may not remember, but they can tell you about Dad's birthday party 5 years ago, because those are the stories that they've told over and over. So oftentimes we see problems with that short-term memory. Sleeping changes. So if a person is sleeping a lot more or not at all, is up all night. And then activity changes are also something that we see. Isolation, not getting out of the house, people stop going to church, stop participating in clubs. I once worked at a senior housing building, and the male person there told me that I know this person isn't going to be living here much longer because they've stopped taking all their magazines, because they don't show an interest in the world outside. So that was just another key that kind of opened my mind. Social isolation and loneliness are actually two different things, and I wanted to talk just a minute about that. Social isolation is the lack of social contacts. It's when we have a few people to interact with on a daily basis. Loneliness is distressing feelings of being alone or separated. And boy, with COVID, I think we've noticed a lot of social isolation and loneliness with the people that we're working with. We see a lot of isolation with older adults due to the changes that they are experiencing. When someone loses their hearing or their vision or their mobility, they start staying in more. We know people too, because of incontinence issues, are staying in because they're so afraid if they get out they might have an accident. So isolation is a really big problem for a lot of seniors. We're now going to talk about some of the key steps to consider when more help is needed at home for health and safety reasons. The first thing is to start the conversation. Have an honest and open conversation with your loved one. A few ways that you can start a conversation, because a lot of people say, oh, we just can't do that. We don't know how to do that. Use something that you saw on TV or a newspaper story, and open up a conversation with that. Well, hey, Mom, I read about this in the newspaper. What do you think about that? So if you can start a conversation with someone, that's important. And also, if you start a conversation with people that are able to make decisions now, it makes for a lot less anxiety in the family. Also, ask the older adult what they think. Don't assume. Use I statements. You might want to say something like, Mom, I heard you say that you cannot see the TV anymore. Start with an I statement. Never and always words will derail conversations, so you want to stay away from those words. If a parent refuses or your loved one refuses to even talk with you or deal with something, you can still research and find resources on your own and have those ready to go should something happen. The next is to consult with the physician, psychiatrist, or the doctors that your parent is seeing or you're seeing. That's a good place to start, because a lot of times we see problems with seniors that may be caused from a medical condition. For example, a urinary tract infection can cause a lot of confusion in people. And once they get some medicine, get that cleared up, they're okay. So we always say start with, what's going on physically so you can have all the information. You want to find support for yourself and practice self-care. You want to eat, rest, do exercise, and there's lots of support groups that are available for people. And Ellie's going to talk to you a little bit more about a group that she runs. And then you want to do fun things for yourself. Sometimes when I've had a long day of doing things with my mom, who's 85, I go out right after it and go to a movie or go out to eat or go have some chips and salsa somewhere. I do something so I know after I've been working with my mom, then I can go do something fun. So you got to keep those things in mind and in perspective. However, if you believe a person is unsafe and the person is at risk or danger, you can call Adult Protective Services. It's a 1-800 number, and we can give you that. We can talk to you more about that. They will visit and make an assessment of a person at risk. So there's lots of different types of abuse. It's not, people often just think it's physical, but it can be emotional, it can be social, it can be financial, and then there can just be self-neglect too. Okay, so Ellie, we're going to start with you now and do some document preparation.
Hi everyone, my name is Ellie and I'm a clinical social worker with Cardinal Ritter. I'm going to just continue on with some documents that you guys might already know about. These are important documents to have in place, especially the durable power of attorney for health before something happens. I actually have one myself, and I think it's a good idea for everybody just to have one because it can take a lot of stress off of our loved ones when something happens to us. It also just helps a family out a lot if they know where things are, if policy numbers, accounts have been organized, and if you've already had that conversation, if you have something that you really want to happen after you've passed, to make sure you've communicated that. These are things that you can really do anytime, and I would say that these are best to work on kind of before you get to a crisis point. Because when you are in a crisis, of course, it's hard to think straight, and it's hard to really go back and get all of these things in place, notarized. They do take a lot of time, especially if you have more assets. And as I said, it's never too early to have those in place. This is actually one of our residents here. She's doing some artwork at one of our facilities. She's a sweetheart. So I'm just going to review or go over some of the things that is good to do, again, before you get to that crisis point where you feel that something absolutely has to happen right now. One of the good things, again, is to put your finances and resources in order, have that conversation with someone. If you think you need a lawyer or further advice, seek that out. And then start to think about, too, the different types of facilities. So there's so many different levels, and it's really important to not go to a level of higher care before it's time. And it's also nice, too, to plan for your future by even going and visiting facilities before you think it might be time to do so. Just so, again, if it comes to a point where, the children or someone needs to make a really fast decision, you already kind of know, okay, well, I know this facility is one that mom really liked and felt comfortable at. Why don't we pick that one? Instead of feeling overwhelmed because there are so many facilities out there. And memory care is kind of becoming like a hot new thing, and it's everywhere. And you want to make sure memory care would be right for you too, because these things also, as you move down from senior apartments, which are independent living, to memory care, of course, the price is going to just keep increasing. Senior apartments, we have quite a number of these on our campus. We have 10 subsidized HUD buildings, and we have those, but they're also all over the country. HUD buildings for seniors are 30% of your income, and it caps off at that. A lot of times you will have utilities, trash, those things all included, so it makes things a lot easier. It's great for someone who might be needing a little extra help, but they're not ready to have their independence taken away from them. And like Cheryl said, though, when her mother started falling, it's then time to start kind of looking at the next step, assisted living versus skilled nursing, and then also, again, if dementia care, memory care is needed. And we have all of these facilities, these types of facilities on our campus and also around. Cheryl and I actually work off campus in the basement of one of our senior buildings. So these are some different tools and resources. It's kind of overwhelming when you go to Google and just start, trying to find something, because there's a lot of agencies and places out there that will say that they want to help, but they really want to charge you quite a bit of money. And there's all different types of things like Medicaid planning, which sounds like it would be something, low cost, but it actually can be quite expensive, and then you end up giving away a percentage of your benefits. So I would just say that to use caution when Googling things about getting older and looking for people to trust and advice to seek out. So saying that, there are some places that I feel that are very trustworthy, and those are the area agencies on aging. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, but those are all over the country. They are federally funded, and ours in St. Louis is SLAY, the St. Louis Area Agency, Area on Aging, and I think out here in the county, yours is Aging Ahead. That phone number is right down here, and when you call, you can really kind of ask any sort of question, and they can not only provide information right there on the phone, but they can also connect you to someone like Cheryl or I, who can provide then kind of like the next level of information. But they know what they're talking about, and they're really a good resource. They also provide things like home-delivered meals. They provide the ride transportation for free in the city, and I'm sure they have different programs out here in the county that might be able to help someone out as well. And then the Elder Care Locator is another really good national resource to use. This one, I usually use it using the website, but I just learned recently that there's also a phone number. And this can help you find different facilities of all types, all over, and it should give you, again, trustworthy information. If you notice, it is a .gov, so there is some control there. It's not as much, some sites, they're gonna show you the ones that paid or are being sponsored first, and this one doesn't quite do that. It's a little more commercial, bias-free. And one of the reasons to really kind of reach out before you start trying to figure this out on your own is, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We've been aging forever, right? And of course, it's more complicated in modern days, but as Cheryl shared in the beginning, the population of those over 65 is growing up tremendously in our country. And that, of course, means that there's lots of services available, and that number of services, that number of facilities is just going to keep growing as we see this population of ours grow. And so that's a good thing in many ways, is because someone's already been through what you've been through, and it's so stressful sometimes to be in these positions, and to reach out and know someone else has been through it or has helped other people through it can just be an immense relief to your parents, whoever you're trying to assist in the process. Cheryl mentioned too, to have a team of people. It's always best to do this not alone, because it is just so overwhelming. Okay, so this is a little bit about us personally here at Cardinal Ritter. We are part of the Federation of Catholic Charities, which is part of the Archdiocese of St. Louis. We are a nonprofit organization. Cheryl and I, work in our social service department, but as I mentioned, we have independent apartments, both the 30% of your income, and then we also have private apartments, Our Lady of Life, which are beautiful and on our campus and more kind of like a condo, but there's also dining rooms and activities, so you can kind of, stay in your whole building and get everything that you need while still feeling independence. And then right next door to those apartments is our assisted living, Mother of Perpetual Help. We also have a Medicaid accepting facility for lower income folks. That's in the Central West End, St. Elizabeth's Hall. Our skilled nursing facility has also a really nice rehab center included, so sometimes, people just come for a little bit and then go back to where they came from. And the dementia care communities, these listed are assisted living dementia care, but what we're actually working on now is we just ground broke actually in December on a new memory care unit. And that's going to be small communities within a larger community, which is really important for people with dementia because it's nice to have a smaller group of people just to keep people less overwhelmed. And within memory care, there's all different types of, scientific things that they've shown help people with dementia, and that's how they build those buildings. And so that's pretty cool. And of course, social services is where we are. So, as for the buildings that I mentioned on campus, especially our Lady of Life apartments, we have this great lady named Mary Lieber, and she is the person that you can contact if you're interested in finding more about those facilities on campus. We have our intake line up here, which is really for if somebody has kind of a question, like the ones that you guys will be asking during the question and answer section. That's a good place to call. Or if you're just not sure and you say you might need a resource and you want someone that you think you can trust, you can call us. We provide non-biased information. We are a Catholic organization, but that does not mean that we only will give Catholic advice. We give advice for all different facilities, for people of all faith and backgrounds. Our services at the Social Service Department are free of charge, always. We're funded by different grants. And lastly, if you are interested in finding out more just about kind of what goes on in our communities on a day-to-day basis and what our residents are up to, you can always follow our Twitter and Facebook account. We have lots of fun photos that are always posted up there. Our residents are usually pretty busy, and I just love this lady reading a book. I think she's adorable. Okay, and then so I also run a group for caregivers of those with dementia. I run this group in conjunction with the Alzheimer's Association of St. Louis. It is currently on Zoom just because of the pandemic. It used to be in person, and I think we're going to go back to in person next month. But the group is for those who are caregivers. They can be parents, children, even friends of those who really are kind of on the front lines of someone who's living with any type of dementia. It does not have to be Alzheimer's. This group, we meet once a month, and it's been very helpful for a lot of the members to just kind of have a place to not really, I wouldn't say vent, but to kind of talk with other people who know what they're going through and understand it. If you haven't spent a lot of time with someone with dementia, it's a whole new thing. So it's not easy in many ways. But the support group, we share lots of different resources, and I love having new people join. So you can call our intake line, me directly right there, email me. But if you're interested, I'd love to have you come. Okay, so this is one of our therapy dogs that comes to visit, and I think we're going to answer some questions.
Yeah, before we start on some questions, we do want to share that we do have some information up here that I think can be really helpful. These are our Cardinal Ritter brochures. They're a little heavy, but they show all our services about all the different buildings and that we operate, so those are real handy. We've also brought some flyers about Ellie's support group, so if you're interested in that. And then these we obtained, they're called Prepared to Care. They're from AARP, and it goes over some of the things we discussed today and gives you some checklists and different things to look at. Just very helpful. It even gives you different words and what different words mean in the elderly community. And then we also brought a few of these. These are from the National Institute on Aging, an age page that talks about getting your affairs in order that we thought may be helpful. And of course, we have our business cards available too. Try to get out of the way here.
Am I on, Tom? Can you hear me? Can you hear me out there? Can't hear me. Can't hear me out there. Test. Okay. One of the One of the things I want to remind you that we're live streaming this, so if you want to get some telephone numbers or addresses or emails from here, you can go to CPOP YouTube live stream like you're watching a Mass live, and this will be on there. Okay?
Can you also put the whole slide presentation on our website? That would be nice.
Yeah, if you can do that, that'd be great. We'll try. Yeah, because it gives the important phone numbers. I also want to point out there is a resource guide for St. Louis called the Seniors Resource Guide. It's put out by the St. Louis Times. This is the 2022. We have a few in our office, but they're kind of heavy, so we didn't bring a whole lot tonight. But you can pick these up at Schnucks. They're usually in where they keep the newspapers, and these are wonderful guides to look at all the different resources available in St. Louis. So wanted to point you to that. So do we want to start with kind of the questions we got emailed, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me ask a big question first. Can you hear me back there, Tom? Okay. Again, I'm going to ask this again. If we don't know where to start and we want help, we call you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you'll walk
Right.
with us on the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And it may be as easy as giving you a phone number, or just we'll try and answer whatever questions you have. If we don't know the answer, again, we have 4 master's level case managers in our office. So if I don't know, Ellie may know, or another person may know. So we'll try and help you out and refer you on to whatever you need.
Okay. Does someone out there have a question? Yes, Pat.
You're talking about the growth of facilities, talking about the growth of memory care. How does the memory care staffing and medical care compare to skilled care?
So his question is, how does memory care growth compared to skilled care growth?
Memory care is designed to work with people who have dementia. So they do things like offer smaller groups, because in a lot of large groups, sometimes people can get more confused. They have special things, the way the hall is laid out. They may have special carpet or things on the walls. The doors to the rooms may have special designs on them to help a person find their room more easily. So they're designed to help the person with the memory impairments be as independent as possible.
How does the nursing staff for memory care compare to?
Yeah, it differs in every facility, but they tend to have more staff, one-on-one to work with the people in memory care than they do in like a regular. But again, it's going to vary in each facility.
One question I got today was, how does Medicaid work?
That's a big question. The way Medicaid works is Medicaid is really designed for low income, essentially. For a person to qualify for Medicaid today, and this changes every year, the amounts due, it's $933 a month maximum, and your assets have to be about $5,000 or less to qualify for Medicaid. If you have over that, you will need to spend down to get to that point. Medicaid will help pay for nursing home care, but you have to meet those limits. You have to spend your checking, your savings, your IRAs, your CDs, all of that. Because you have to have $933 a month or less, basically, to qualify. When a person qualifies for Medicaid and they need to have nursing home care, what happens is the nursing home will take the Social Security check of that person to pay for the care, and then the state makes up the difference, basically. The person gets about $50 a month to spend on personal care products, so whether that be deodorant or getting your hair fixed or buying those sodas out of the pop machine. That's the money they get, and the rest of it goes to the nursing home. $933 a month, or $5,000 or less in assets. Yeah, you have to, and it it will go up if it's a couple and so on, but that's the basic limits.
Now, if I'm the son or daughter of my parents, can I pay the extra to have them go someplace else and still be on Medicaid?
Well, that's a good question. I got that on the email, and I thought about that a little bit. When family members contribute, and Ellie, you can chime in here too, that would be like them getting extra money a month. So if you the son, are giving me $3,000 a month, that's income.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Sure.
There is a very good resource called Voice. It's used to be the Long-Term Care Ombudsman program, and we refer to them all the time. They are a watchdog for nursing homes, and they can also help you find a facility. Say your mom is getting discharged from the hospital tomorrow. They can help you find a facility that has openings, that meets your financial requirements, and they're very good because they know all the facilities over St. Louis. They can help you find three places in West County or 3 places in South City. So they're very good. We don't have the database to do that type of thing, so that's why we refer to them, because they are a social service organization. They're non-biased, and they can refer people to a lot of facilities, which is very helpful, and within what you can afford. And you can also talk to them about financial concerns you have about nursing homes. Yes. Uh-huh.
Can you kind of summarize this question?
You were saying that we were talking about keeping people in their homes, and that's our... Yeah, no, that's fine. We talked in the beginning some about some of the things that you can do, like, keeping the good nutrition, keeping your doctor's appointments, following what your doctors say. Those are all preventative things. And our goal really is to keep people in their homes, and we'll look at all the resources with a family to try and keep that mom or dad in their home. But if it comes to a point where the person is at risk, where they're falling a lot. And a good example is, I like to use my mom, and she's given me permission for me to talk to you about her. We moved her from Kansas. She was living in her own home. She wanted to be closer to family, so we moved her to a senior apartment here in St. Louis a year ago, March. And then she started to fall. And that's when we realized we needed to do something. So we got in touch with a geriatrician. She now has a doctor from SLU that specifies in the work of working with older adults. And they were able to help us look at why she might be falling. Of course, a bunch of tests were ran and everything was done because they couldn't find a medical reason why she was falling. So after lots of research, we thought she may have some anxiety. And so we have her seeing a psychiatrist to help deal with that anxiety, and maybe that will help her stop falling. And then we had her go and see a neurologist on recommendation of her doctor, and the neurologist says she now has signs of Parkinson's. So we found the reason why she's falling, but we found it to be unsafe for her to be in the apartment because every time she falls, oh my gosh, is she going to break a hip, an arm, a leg? And we don't want that to happen. So we decided to add more care. We now have her in assisted living because it's progressing with her needs is what we're trying to do. We try to keep her as independent as possible for as long as possible, but sometimes as we age, there's more medical issues that arise that You know, I was never planning to put my mom in an assisted living, but we needed to keep her safe. And right now she's having an independent life. They're in the assisted living. They help her with her meals, her medications. They do her laundry, but she still has her own little apartment, and she really likes that.
Let me see if I can summarize his question, or at least get to the first base. He makes a call to Cardinal Ritter Senior Services and says, we need help, I need help, whatever. Somebody in here calls you and says, I need help. Does that mean you'll send a social worker out and say, after a discussion on the phone, that we'll send a social worker out and have some kind of conversation and do some kind of evaluation? How does that all work?
Yeah, it just kind of depends. If we see that there's several needs, you're questioning several things, then we would probably send a social worker out. If it's just like, how do I get Meals on Wheels, of course, we're going to give you that resource. So it's very different from every person that calls. You know, one person may call us because their lights got turned off and need help with a utility bill. And in talking with them, we also find out that they're falling, or the refrigerator broke down, or other things. So it's very individualistic. It depends on what the needs of that person are. And sometimes we'll do just a lot of talking over the phone to try and get what's needed, do some brief assessment over the phone, and then as we determine what the needs are, we'll go out and talk to people about what resources are available.
So I think that our discussion, you know, is supposed to be about aging in general, and I know that you had said one of our main goals is to keep people in their home, and I just want to let you know that our goal is to help our clients in whatever way that they want. So if a client comes to us and says, I do not want to go to a facility, but I'm falling, we'll say, okay, and we'll sit down and work on making a care plan with them. So if you had specific things, like you're worried about your washer being in your basement, you could say you have some things you want to talk to us about, and then we would go over like those specific things and then see how we could address each of those with you. But it gets so specific, and we work individually one-on-one with people usually. Like, we don't just kind of have like this general advice that we just give out, because we're trained to sit down and meet with someone and go through that together, because we don't want to make assumptions on what you want to do. You know, we want to help you with whatever you want to do in any way. And so if you want to leave your home and go to a facility, that's what you want to do, we will help you. If you want to stay in your home, we will help you. It's whatever you want, whatever situation you have. And just by calling us, just tell us what you need help with, and we will just go from there, you know, and just support you through the way. We're someone to bounce ideas off, connect you to other people. But again, you're just so specific, you know.
We work with families too, but we don't go in just because someone says, you know, my mom needs this. We try to have family meetings where we meet together, but our client is really you, and we make decisions with you on what you need and what you want. And then we try to provide this toolbox for you, or resources for you, to help you do that. And that's the great thing about my staff, is that they have those tools. They've been around the block. We've been doing this for a long time, so we know where the resources are. We know how to find some different types of things, and if one of us don't know, then we may call another agency. A lot of times we partner with other agencies to provide services, because this agency over here may have some help that, you know, we can use from them. So we try to connect people with resources, connect the dots is what we try to do. That's why sometimes bringing in a third party like our department can be helpful, because the question is when the family wants something and the older person wants something else, how do you get the two to meet? A lot of times we'll do a family meeting and we'll be the neutral party in it, and we can help, say, here's what we see and here's some of the things, and help bring the people together and find resources together.
Ultimately, though, the older person is the person, that we're going to, if they're competent, it's their decision, right? And so one of social work's main tenets is self-determination of our clients, which means that we support clients in whatever they'd like to do, as long as it's not dangerous or unsafe. If someone, says they want to live at home and their children are saying, no, it's unsafe, and we go and see, oh, this is really unsafe, then we're going to make a call to that hotline number, and because that would be an emergency service. But yeah, in general, we can try and be a mediator, but it does always come back to that person. We don't force anybody to do anything. If it's a dangerous situation, then we would call the Adult Protective Service line, because again, that would be unsafe. But otherwise, it is whatever someone wants to do. Even if I disagree with it, it's their choice, and my job is just to support them. No, that's not what I said. I said if it's dangerous, I call the Adult Protective Service hotline, because it's an emergency situation. If someone calls us to bring, if you're calling us to come over, you would want us there, right? Like, we don't go to people's homes that they don't want us there, and they'd be, that would be, we don't do that. We have to be invited, and so 9 times out of 10, someone's not going to invite us if they think we're gonna do something. You know what I mean? Like, people know, and they know that, they know we're mandated reporters. If we see something, we have to report it. Honestly, if someone's competent, they're competent, and there's no way around it. If they're in danger, we have to follow the steps of, I can't force someone to leave their home, but I can do what I need to do by calling someone who has the authority to make that decision. The only people who can determine competency are actually medical doctors. Social workers can't do that. And so it's not appropriate for me to decide when that level has been met, but if I have a lot of concerns because someone's not bathing, someone's not eating, they're having incontinence issues all over, that's getting to, really bad, and they're in really poor health, I can't tell them that they need to leave their home, even if I truly think that that's the truth. I would have to call Adult Protective Services, and then they will come in, and they will be the determination. But no, I would never just leave someone in a terrible situation. That would not be ethical.
Well, it depends on the severity of, if it's immediate danger, they're going to get out there pretty immediate. If it's not immediate danger, then it may take a few days for them to get out. But they come in and they look at the situation, and they determine the person is really bad, they're going to probably place them. In some instances. It's different in every case. She's asking if police remove in every case. It's different in every case. Again, we have to be invited in, so we're not the state. We're not gonna do that. But people invite us in, and we only go when we're invited in. So a lot of times we'll get a call from a neighbor that says, "Oh, my neighbor needs some help right away." Well, have your neighbor call us. We're not going to go in just because the neighbor over here thinks this. The client themselves needs to call us for us to go in. And again, what we're going to try and do is help provide those tools and resources to you to help you remain in your home. I mean, we can do a lot of things that, like I said in the beginning, like by having grab bars installed, or maybe having better lighting so the falls stop. We can look at all those issues. Maybe you can't cook meals. We see a lot of couples oftentimes, and maybe one has passed, and the husband never cooked a meal in his life. So we get them hooked up on Meals on Wheels. Or we see a woman maybe who never did finances. So we get some money management resources, or talk to them about how they can work with that. So we try to approach the client from where they are. That's where we start, is where they are. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, basically, if you need some unbiased advice, is that kind of a good summary? Yes, that is like a perfect reason to call us, absolutely. Yeah, because we certainly won't try and sell you anything or anything like that. And like Cheryl said, if we don't know, we will help find someone to answer your question. So like, we don't just say, oh, I don't know. We'll say, I don't know, but I will find you the answer. And that's how we work. Yeah. A lot of times they have an age. Most are 62. That's kind of like the magical age. There are like 55 plus communities. I was just visiting my uncles in Massachusetts a little while ago, and they have some really beautiful Jewish communities that are like these little houses, but there's no cars, if you notice. But you can only live there if you're 55 and older. And a lot of times they have services that are commonly needed. So they might have, like at ours, we have a bus. And especially during the pandemic, like every day there was something to do. You could go to Walmart. You don't have to drive to the store. You can go on the bus. You can go, I think one of my clients just went to Roadhouse Grill or something like that. And it was the first meal she'd had out in years. And it was wonderful, just things like that for people that might not be able to get out on their own. And another benefit of it too is that you're around people that are all going through, similar stuff as you. They have younger children or they're dealing with similar issues. So, and sometimes older people tell me too they don't like being around the younger people because they're too noisy. So. Yeah. Definitely, some of them are. A lot of times, like they will. They're kind of like, they're more accessible, and like for instance, like the bathrooms are really big in a lot of them. They come with grab bars already. They come with pull cords. So like if you fall, you can pull the cord and then someone will come. A lot of times too, they'll have volunteer residents who are like kind of like an RA, and they go around every morning, and if you put a magnet on your door, we know, okay, Bob is okay in Unit A, but the next day he didn't put it up. Okay, we better check on Bob now. So it's like that extra kind of layer of, I think more just, there's a nice community at a lot of these buildings that I think is lacking at least buildings I've lived in as a younger person.
My husband says that they're college dorms for older people. So yes, we had some questions over here. Okay, so the first question was about memory care and financing that. Maybe we should talk just a little bit too about what care costs, because I think there's a big misconception of what things cost, and that was one of the questions on the email. In-home care, it depends on what type of in-home care you need. Of course, RNs, LPNs, bath aides are going to be much more expensive than just like a homemaker, someone that comes in and fixes you a meal or cleans your house. $20, $25 an hour for that homemaker is at least probably what you're going to spend private pay. Now, if your income is low enough, the state may provide some of those services. If you qualify for Medicaid, the state may provide, and that's one thing that we can help you look at. As far as assisted living, apartments were 30% of adjusted gross income for senior subsidized apartments. But of course, there's apartments all over St. Louis that you can get that are not subsidized, that are more than that, whatever you can afford to do on a monthly basis. As far as assisted living, on the very low end, you're probably at least looking at $2,000 a month, but it's usually about $5,000 is what we tell people. Assisted living, $5,000. So that pays for like medication, meals, housekeeping, but you still have your own little room. And there's staff available and 24 hours, but it can't help you directly every hour of the day because it's assisted. It's to help you mainly with those activities of daily living so you can continue to live as independently as possible. And then as far as skilled nursing, a lot of people think that, oh, that's going to be paid under my Medicare. Well, no. Skilled nursing or nursing home is going to cost you $8,000 to $10,000 a month for that type of care. The only way Medicare pays for skilled nursing is if you're in a hospital and you need to go for rehab, and Medicare will cover a number of days to get some physical therapy, rehab to get you back home. But besides that, it's $8,000 to $10,000 a month, so you can see where savings and all that go very quickly for those costs. One other option we didn't really talk about very much was adult daycare. That can be an option for people too. Kind of like the daycare where our children went when they were young. You pay a certain fee for them to go there all day. Well, there's several adult daycares in St. Louis. $100 a day, approximately, and it's going to vary. And these prices are going to vary in other states too. So we're kind of talking regionally here about the St. Louis area. This is the prices that we've found. But I know people are just shocked by those prices. So, I don't. Memory care is probably going to be a little additional cost. We do have some business cards from Mary Lieber, who can talk to you about the memory care and the facilities on our campus and talk to you a little bit more about that. Out of state. Well, again, that resource that we suggested, the Elder Care Locator, is going to be one of the best resources that you can call because they can tell you about what to do in Tennessee or what to do in Alaska. They will connect you with resources, so we refer people to that program all the time to help with out of state. One of the questions that came across in the email is what steps do you need to think about when moving a person from out of state? Well, since I just did that for my mom from Kansas to Missouri, the first thing I did was find her a doctor that's going to see her. Because, sometimes that can be a challenge, finding a doctor in the St. Louis area. We have really good geriatric facilities. St. Louis University has a geriatric facility, Washington University. And also, Washington University does geriatric assessments. So that is a professional assessment with a team of people that people can take their loved ones to. And that may be one of those resources that people can look at, because not only will they look at their medical, they'll look at the physical, they'll have nurses, social workers, everyone involved, that whole team to give an assessment of a person. So if you don't know what's going on with mom or dad, that may be a great place to get some answers for too. But finding a doctor when you're coming from out of state, you want to make sure you change the Social Security from that state to make sure their address gets changed. The Medicare, you want to look at that, their insurances. Yes.
Sure. So in every state, Medicare is different. You can get supplemental plans, Medigap plans that will go all across the country, or you can also, there are certain plans I think that cost more. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but they also, you can use basically, it's good for, there's plans for people who live I'm from New York, and a lot of times people live, 6 months and 1 day in Florida and the rest of the year in upstate New York. And for them, they would need a plan, right, that's a little special because they need to go to doctors in 2 states, but it does cost more. And unless you kind of know you have that, you probably don't. So it's always good to check definitely the specifics of not only your plan, but your supplemental plan too, to make sure that those can go wherever you're going before, of course, you get there.
In Missouri, we have a great organization called CLAIM, and they can help people. It's nationwide. They have different names, so it's SHIP nationwide, but CLAIM in Missouri, and they can help you specifically look at specific insurance plans. One One thing that we didn't really talk about too is that when looking for financing care, some people have long-term insurance, so you may want to look into that too. That may cover some of care in a nursing home or an assisted living. If you're a veteran, that may also cover some care. So those are things that you want to look into and things that we would point people to. So if they tell us a veteran, we're going to get them in touch with someone from the VA to help look at those plans. Life insurance. I would call the life insurance policy. Now, like to qualify for Medicaid, a lot of things you have to get irrevocable, where you can't take out the funds, and that money would go like to pay for a funeral or go towards a funeral cost. So you have to get things made irrevocable because they'll look at that as an asset. Also, in qualifying for Medicaid, a lot of people think, well, hey, I have this $5,000 in the bank, I'm going to give it to my college kid to help pay for his care. You can't just give away your assets. Medicaid has a look back of 60 months, 5 years, that they will look and make sure that your assets went to fair market value. So you can't just give away your money to qualify for Medicaid, because a lot of people think that. There's a question also about memory care home solutions, and Ellie, you just had experience with that. So.
I think this says if dementia is involved, Memory Care Home Solutions is the organization they would go to. Yes, I would agree with that statement. Memory Care Home Solutions is awesome. I just went to a webinar that they had called Dementia Hacks, and I don't know if you've been to their website, whoever wrote this, but I would suggest, because they have great videos of their occupational therapists and social workers. I mean, it's almost like, it's like magic. If you've been dealing with someone that has some challenging behaviors with dementia, there are some tricks and tips that I personally would never think of, and these people know them, and they will come into your home. They'll do a free safety assessment. They can tell you, you know, a grab bar should go there and there and there to best make this room safest, or pick up this rug, or all things just to make it safer, one with dementia. They're the experts, I would say, on dementia in St. Louis. And if you ever get a chance to go to one of their webinars, they're not free, but they are incredibly well worth it. I would highly recommend them. Memory Care Home Solutions.
Another question we had was about respite care. Do we have that at Cardinal Ritter? And yes, we do. At Mary Queen and Mother Center, we do have respite care. It's about $302 a day to put someone in respite care. 302. Respite care. Respite. That would be like for someone who's taking care of a loved one, say with dementia, that needs to go out of town for a family emergency, but they can't leave their loved one alone, so they might put them in nursing home for a short period of time. RESPITE, respite care. And, you know, there's other facilities that offer respite too. So the facility has to have an opening. It's about $300 a day to do that. You would need the medical records, and people at our facility, they want to stay about 5 days, because it's just getting all the medical information on that person for the nurses to work with them. You know, you want it more than 1 day. So, but there is services like that, which is another way to keep people in their homes, but if you need something done for a short period of time. There was also a question about wills and power of attorney and healthcare directives in Missouri, and are they valid in other states? Well, each state has different laws, so you need to really check with the laws in your state. If you need help looking at those issues, we always recommend looking at an elder law attorney. Legal services here in Eastern Missouri can help, and the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis can be another resource to find a lawyer. There's lots of legal aid or elder law attorneys. You can find some of their information in this book here. We also have some of these durable power of attorney for healthcare decisions in our office. This is a free publication. that's put out by the Missouri Bar Association. It does need to be notarized, but allows people to voice what they want done should something critical happen. That's often a good tool. Let's see, someone asked about the appropriate steps of moving a patient. We've kind of talked about that, the elder care locator, choose a doctor, look at your Social Security and Medicare. Another question was what to look for when comparing nursing homes. I think Ellie kind of covered that. Kind of my standby is go 2 times when you're looking at a nursing home. Go first, have a meeting with the administrator, the director of nursing, the admissions social worker, have an official meeting, but then go back a second time, just drop in. And oftentimes, if you can get lunch, have lunch at the place. That can be something to look at a nursing home. Again, that resource that I gave you, Voice, which is the long-term care ombudsman for St. Louis, they are just a wonderful resource in helping look at locating and evaluating nursing homes and financing. You can also go to Medicare.gov, Care and Compare, and you can pull up whatever nursing home you're looking at and look at what's been said about them. That's a great resource. There's all sorts of nursing home checklists. AARP puts out a great book on, this one's on solving nursing home problems. You just go to the AARP website, and there's all sorts of checklists that when you look at a nursing home that you can just go down and check off what you see and what the person might need. Ellie, they also a person asked a question about out-of-pocket medicine cost. And do we have any advice on like GoodRx or any of those types of things? There is extra help through Social Security. If a person is low income, they can get some help paying for the Medicare B part premium, which goes up every year. It's like, what, $170 now? For low income, there is some assistance available through the state to help pay that. But do you want to talk a little bit about other?
For medication costs, a really good tool is actually using Medicare.gov, and you can put in all of your current medications, and it can give you actually which Medicare plan will be cheapest for your specific drugs. I'm a claim volunteer, so that means I work on the Medicare for the state, and when people have questions about it, and I always get asked, well, which is better, Medicare Original or Medicare Advantage? And the answer is, like so many of my answers, is that it depends on who the person is. And you can find out, though, through Medicare.gov, put your medications in, and it'll also show you which pharmacy, like exactly how much it is. So it can compare, you put in your medications, and you say, you go to Walmart here, and you also go to Walgreens. And it'll say, well, at this place, it'll be this much estimated and this much estimated, and it's pretty close. That's a great tool that I use often. If you already are using insurance, you often can't use GoodRx on top of that. Most of our clients are low income, and so the people that I usually work with don't have insurance. So if they don't have insurance, I would say use the GoodRx card. But a lot of time you're going to be saving more money with your Medicare or your health insurance that you're paying for than you would be with the GoodRx. Sure. So she asked if you have to give up your Medicare plan when you go into a facility. Medicare Advantage plan? No, you don't. Different facilities accept different plans, though. So, I know that I've worked with plans that are facilities that don't accept Essence before or something. That's just an example. And if someone really wants to go there, they can still go there. There's various open enrollment periods throughout the year, and moving actually triggers a special enrollment period with Medicare, meaning that you could change. So it's always up to you. A facility actually does not have the right to ever tell you which Medicare plan you need to be on. That's your choice. But they do, of course, then have the ability to say, well, we don't accept that. So then you would have to look at kind of, is it worth it? But that might be a good time to call claim or the Medicare people, and then they can say, oh, well, if you are looking at this plan, we can tell you either how much more expensive that would be or less expensive. And you could also even put in the pharmacy, because most facilities use their own pharmacy, like you can't use your own anymore. And so like if they contract out with one, then every patient uses that one regardless of, if it's going to be the best for that specific insurance. So you can also even break it down to type in the pharmacy that contracts with the facility, and then on Medicare.gov, and I can help anyone go through this, just see which plan then would be most cost effective basically for drugs and for co-pays and all that other stuff.
So, and that's what we do a lot too. If a lot of people we work with don't have computer access or don't know how to access whatever on the computer, we can help you with that. That's the type of question we ask. Another question was, if a person goes on Medicaid and they're in like a nursing home, will that require them to relocate to a different, less expensive facility? My answer is going to be no, not necessarily. But if you are a person that is eventually going to go on Medicaid, that's one thing that you want to kind of check out when looking at nursing homes. Does this facility take Medicaid? Should I get to that point? And they have to have a Medicaid bed open. If they don't, then it's going to be different with each facility, but you may have to transfer to another facility, not because of the cost, it's because they don't have an opening Medicaid bed. Because each facility has so many Medicaid beds they have, and they have to have an opening. They just can't move someone out because this person ran out of money, So that's what you want to look at in the beginning.
I've been told in that particular situation with a not-for-profit organization such as yours, we're likely to have Medicaid beds for profit. Is that true?
Yeah.
Sure. The question was, is it more likely for a nonprofit organization's facilities to have openings with their Medicaid beds than a facility that's not a nonprofit? I would say I don't know, because I think it really depends on how big the facility is, first of all, because that can then limit, if they're a huge facility, the more likely the more Medicaid beds they'll have. The smaller the facility, the smaller the number, unless they're an entirely Medicaid accepting facility. What else was I going to say about that? I would say that too, it's just really different. I think that there's no rule or formula. I would say that maybe that's true, but at the same time, I think it's best still just to call, because these lists change all the time. There are openings sometimes, there are openings, and they might go through months where there's no openings, and then all of a sudden all these people get in, and it just depends on how quickly those people are leaving those beds as well.
There was also a question about if you want to be in a specific nursing home, should you get on a waiting list? Yes, yes, and yes. Sometimes I have a client that I'm working with right now that really wanted to stay near her home in South City and was not able to get in the nursing home that she wanted. She's on the wait list, but so she's been placed at another facility right now because she had to go somewhere. She needed 24-hour care. And so, as soon as something opens, hopefully they'll get her in. But always get on wait list. We always recommend that. And, that's kind of the preventative thing that we've talked about too, is that what we, talk to families about. I know you may not be looking at a facility or don't want to go, but you should have an idea of what some facilities are out there. Go visit a few, because this will be able to help you say, I want to go to A facility, I definitely don't want to go to B facility. Have some things in mind. Talk with your families about that too. Let your kids know what you're thinking, what you're wanting. Have that conversation with you, because they may not know what you want. Well, we are here to help. Again, my business cards are up here. We welcome you to call, to pick up one of our brochures. Again, if we don't know the answer, we'll try and find an answer for you. These are great documents to begin preparation too. So the cards for Mary Lieber, she is the one that can give you a tour if you're interested in like Our Lady of Life or Mother of Perpetual Help on our campus. And she can talk to you more about that. And then I'm Cheryl Trask, I'm the social service manager, and we have Ellie Hansen, who's a licensed clinical social worker with our office, and we're here to answer questions. We have one final one over here.
I just want to thank you and Cheryl and Ellie for providing us with this honest information. And I know, there's a whole encyclopedia, but you can't provide that with so many different individual unique questions.
Right. And that was our goal, is to kind of spark some interest here, conversations to have with your family, and get the conversation started. Because prevention is the key. We'll help you look at what's out there and available and try to follow what your wishes are. But sometimes it comes to where we just need more help. And so that's what we're here for.
And we're around. If you have further questions or more specific questions about your own situation, feel free to call us. That's what we're here for. And we really do enjoy talking about this.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Two more things before I let you go. We do have another ministry in the parish. Some of you may know about it. Some of you are included in that ministry, and that's Faith in Action, where we actually go out and help parishioners do some things in their house that needs to be done. Drywall repair, some electrical stuff. We put on some gutters for somebody. We kind of shy away from yard work because not many people want to do their own yard work, let alone volunteers. We've had some people volunteer to just go sit and be present with our homebound and other people. And that's next on my list, is to get a group of volunteers to just go and sit and be present and visit with people on some, kind of like be a pen pal with them. So we have a group of people that will come and sit, take you to the doctors, go to the grocery store for you, make minor home repairs, and those things. And if you want to be one of those members of the ministry, please see me or email me or something. But if these ladies direct you to get grab bars or whatever, and they show us where to put them, we would be happy to have them installed by members of this ministry within the parish. Sure.
We love working with parishes like you. We work with you all the time to refer people to you. So is people around this area then? So we're making our notes. But if you have someone that lives in South City, we can refer you to a resource down there that would do like similar things. And there's community resources that will go and sit with people and visit. If you live in a different area, we could refer you to those things too. We work very closely with the St. Vincent de Paul's. And the parish nurses. We pull out all the stops. We try and find every resource available for every person. I just wanted to give a quick blurb too, that at Cardinal Ritter in our social service department, we do have a Relatives Acting as Parents program. It's basically grandparents raising grandchildren. So if you know of someone in that situation, please call us. We have a great case manager that provides that service to people with grandkids and helping them walk through that process. And then we also have a foster grandparent program, which are volunteers that go into preschools, and they get a small stipend for doing that. It's a volunteer program, and that's ramping back up with hopefully the ending of COVID. But we have that program too, so if you know someone that would like to volunteer, please call us for that also. Forgot to mention those. Yeah.
One other thing, a volunteer, Bob Zangus here in the second pew here, he's a professional at this, retired professional, and he has offered to speak with you if you want to have a private conversation with him. But I would say both of these people, but for sure these folks, even though they didn't give us a solid answer that we may have wanted to hear, they're going to work with you and walk the journey. They're going to walk the journey with you. Make a plan. Oh, and by the way, speaking of making plans, recent observation. I don't know how many, we have currently 9 people at Homebound that we visit. Some are blind, some can't get out of a chair, some, they're at different stages in their lives, and they're still depending on their children. Well, guess how old these people are? They're 90, okay? And if they're 90, how old are their children? They're 70. Do you want to depend on a 70-year-old to help you out when you're 90? Think about it. Think about it. So if you're going to depend on your kids, think again, because you're all 85 or 80 or whatever age you are. So that may not be such a good plan. Right? All right, good night. How about a final blessing? May Almighty God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, ladies.